What's going on YouTube? Snowflarky's Emos here today with another deck profile. Today I am bringing my Evolzor deck profile. Evolzors are a series of reptiles that become dinosaur monsters, and the dinosaur monsters become dragon Xyz monsters. And one of the reasons I've had this deck together is because I've always stood by that Dolka and Lagia are my favorite Xyz monsters of all time. And so I figured I might as well put together the dedicated deck and play it. And then a little bit after I did that, we got announced that we're getting more Evolzor support. So very excited for that. Was playing this deck this past week and figured I might as well do a profile of it as it is before the future where we get the new cards. Do note, if you've seen my Master Duel deck profile, this version is going to be quite a bit different because in real life I don't necessarily have access to the Dogmatica cards that are played in that version. So this version is going to be a bit different, a bit more accessible, and utilize some other stuff to help the Evolzors out. So with that said, let's get into the cards. Starting with our monsters, I am playing 3 copies of Evoltile Mega Chirilla. So this is our 1-star reptile monster with 0 attack and 0 defense. It's the only actually Evoltile we are playing in the deck, but it's the one that gets everything going. So this card says you contribute 1 reptile monster to discard a card and then special summon a level 6 or lower dinosaur type monster from your deck. And of course, that's pretty nice because there's an Evolzor we can pull out, Volcano, that when we special summon from our deck can special summon us another Evolzor from the grave since it's special summoned by an Evoltile effect. And if we discard another, Evolzor monster, that is pretty sweet. But not only that, if this card is in your graveyard, you can target 1 Dragon XZ monster you control with no materials and attach up to 2 reptile and or dinosaur type monsters with different names from your hand and or graveyard to that monster. So that's pretty nice. The Evolzors are pretty strong and have some of the most powerful effects on an Xyz monster, and easily being able to just refresh the ones you've already summoned with new materials is pretty sweet, which is awesome. And of course, you can only use each effect of this card once per turn. So this one's pretty nice. Gets your Evolzors on the field and constantly recycles their material. We're definitely digging to see this card on our first turn. Continuing on with our monsters, I am playing 3 copies of Evolzor Volcano. This is the one that we're going to try to summon off of Evotile Mega Chirilla, because when this card is special summoned by the effect of an Evotile monster, you can target an Evolsaur monster in your graveyard and special summon it. It cannot declare an attack. So that's pretty cool. That's going to get us our XZ. So Mega Chirilla can become a 1-card version of our XZ. I guess it's a 2-card because we got a discard. But either way, it gets us right into it. And so Volcano here is the one that we want to pull out of the deck. We need a couple other Evolzors here, so mainly to special summon off of Volcano. So next we're playing 3 Evolzor Diplo, another level 4 dinosaur. Has an effect that if this card's special summoned by the effect of an Evoltile monster, you can target a spell or trap card your opponent controls and destroy it. That could be handy, making this the most useful Evolzor to max out in our deck. 1600 attack isn't bad, but mostly we want to get this guy in the grave so that Volcano can summon him. And for our last Evolzor, I'm playing 1 Evolzor Pelta. This is just so I can have one more name. I don't have the 1900 attack guy, and a 1900 attack isn't too useful for me to pick him up. So I'm just playing this guy, who is just in here strictly to be an Evolzor to summon from the grave off of Volcano. So definitely want to get this guy into our graveyard, maybe have him be our discard for Evotile Mega Chirilla. That's actually it for the Evolzors we're playing. A couple other monsters I am playing. Because I do have it, I am playing one of the Dogmatica Fleur de Lis. This is a pretty cool card to have in this deck because basically if we have a monster that's special summoned from the extra deck, we can special summon this card during the main phase from our hand. That's pretty nice. It's a 2500 attack monster. And not only that, if you control... so that's pretty nice. Gives him 2500 attack. And of course, what's nice about him is, that's extra damage to put on board, which we need to close out the game. And of course, when this card attacks, we can increase the attack of Dogmatica monsters by 500. So he actually becomes a 3000, and that continually stacks. And so that just makes it a nice additional body on board that we can get for a free summon, extra damage, which is pretty important because basically once we negate our opponent's turn with the Evolzars, we want to really push in and do damage. Next, I'm playing one copy of Dino Wrestler Pankratops. This card is limited, and it's just a good card to have in the deck. Pretty flexible. If your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you special summon this card. Makes it a good tool to have if we are made to go second, or if our opponent is just summoned a bunch of monsters, has more monsters than us at the end of a turn. We can get this guy out for free. He's got 2600 attack, but he also has the quick effect that he contribute a Dino Wrestler monster to destroy a card on the field. Exiled Force, quick effect, you can force them to negate it. Just forces out a lot of negates. Good card to have as a one of. Next up, I'm running 2 copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. This is a hand trap that during either player's turn, when an opponent's when a monster on the field activates its effect or a spell or trap card on the field is activated, we can use Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit to destroy that monster. Doesn't necessarily negate the effect, but it removes the monster. It's a cool tool to have. I still like this card a little bit, and I'm playing 2 copies of Ash Blossom, which is the notorious hand trap where when a card or effect is activated that either adds a card from the deck to the hand, special summons a monster from the deck, or sends a card from the deck to the graveyard, we can discard this card to negate that effect. Very powerful. I know 2 is a strange amount to see for Ash Blossom, but it's because I'm mostly just trying some other cards in here. And feel free to max out on this card if you like. But I like having the little mix-up with Ash Blossom and Ghost Ogre. Having both available in one turn when playing these kind of casual decks. So just another good tool to have. And that is it for the monsters. Next, we are going into our spells. I am playing 3 copy of Puri Rise map. This is a pretty interesting card. At the start of your main phase, add 1 monster with 0 attack from your deck to your hand, aka Evoltile Mega Chirilla. But we have to pay half our life points. In addition, we're not going to be able to use that monster's effect unless we normal summon it this turn. That's fine until we normal summon that monster. And of course, we are going to normal summon, so not a big deal. And so not bad. We just pay half our life points to add Mega Chirilla straight from the deck to our hand. We want to see this card pretty much always on turn 1, so having 3 Puri Rise map as an option to get it is good to have. Next up, I'm playing 3 copies of Evo Diversity. Evo Diversity is a nice spell for this deck. It adds an Evoltile or Evolzor monster from the deck to our hand. So if we don't have Puri Rise map, we can use this to grab Mega Chirilla. And if we have Mega Chirilla, we can use this to grab a Diplo or Pelta in order to discard it for our Evoltile Mega Chirilla and get the Chirilla effect ready to go. Pretty good card. Of course, we can only activate once per turn, but not bad. We'll take it. Next up, I am playing 2 copies of XYZ Import. This is a really fun card in this deck, particularly because of how powerful Dolka and Laggy are. XZ Import just says that we can target an XZ monster you control and 1 monster your opponent controls with attack less than or equal to the attack of the XZ monster we targeted, and attach that monster to it as material. Now that's extremely powerful for Evolzor Dolka because that gives it another material on its not once per turn effect to negate and destroy a monster anytime a monster effect is activated. And, that could possibly just remove a monster on the field to equip to Lagia. Gives it more material for Zeus fodder later. So definitely just a really good card to have. XYZ Import is very nice, and we are happy to be playing it. And that is it for the spell cards. Next up, going into our trap cards, I am playing 3 copies of Evo Singularity. Definitely one of my favorite cards in this deck that's really fun to play. Evo Singularity here says that we can target an Evotile monster and an Evolzor monster in our graveyard, special summon an Evolzor XZ monster from our extra deck, and if we do, attach those monsters to it as XZ material. So that's pretty nice when we got Mega Chirilla in the grave and another Evolsaur in the grave. We can make an XZ, we can make another Dolka, we can make another Lagia. Just a really powerful card to play, not even once per turn, so once we use its effect and send the materials back to the graveyard. We can just pull them right out again. This card is awesome. I love it. Very fun. One of my favorite parts about the deck. Now, since that's a normal trap card, in order to get it, we are going to play 3 copies of Trap Trick. And that's a pretty nice card to have in here. Trap Trick banishes a normal trap card for us to set a copy of the same named card as we banish on our spell and trap zone. We can activate it this turn, but we can only activate 1 more trap card after this card resolves. So keep that in mind because we are playing a decent amount of trap cards in this deck. Definitely want to wait till you're running less on options in order before you activate Trap Trick and set it up. Next, I'm playing 2 copies of Heavy Storm Duster, a choice for dueling with my group because a decent amount of spell and trap card and back row decks. Heavy Storm Duster just takes care of back row with card advantage because we can target 2 spells or traps and destroy them in exchange for our battle phase, which isn't a big deal if we're playing it on our opponent's turn. So, and what's nice is we can trap trick this out of the deck too, so another good option. Speaking of trap trick options here, I'm playing 2 copies of Lost Wind. Lost Wind is pretty nice because we can target a special summon monster on the field, half its attacks and negate its effect, which is pretty nice. You know, the Evolzars got 23 and 2400 attacks, so not the highest beat stick boss monsters, so having that attack is a good option. And of course, this card's recyclability is a good option because if this card's in the graveyard and our opponent special summons from the extra deck, we can set this card but banish it when it leaves the field. Pretty neat. Next up, I'm playing 3 copies of Anti-Spell Fragrance. So in this deck, in its condition, it's not the greatest, and unfortunately, it also doesn't have a lot of synergies with Floodgates. Doing the Evoltile combo with Mega Chirilla means that we can't really play Summon Limit, because if we want to do that on a follow-up turn, Summon Limit is, going to stop us from doing that. But Anti-Spell Fragrance is something that I think is pretty nice in this deck. It's pretty good if we want to end on Dolka, and of course Dolka can get removed by spell cards like Raigeki, Lightning Storm, etc. So having Anti-Spell to play right on the draw phase so that our opponent can't play those spells and traps right away, especially if we want to destroy them with, say, Heavy Storm Duster after they set them. It's just very nice. It limits our opponent's ability to remove things, and of course we can play around it by setting our spells and traps. Setting our spells so that we can activate them on our next turn. So just a pretty good card to have. Definitely wins me some matchups and carries some of the weakness of this deck. Pretty dang useful. And last, I am playing 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. Solemn Judgment is very nice. It's, Lagia has this effect, and I figure having a trap card that has an additional Lagia effect is pretty good. Pay half our life points to negate a spell or trap card activation or a monster summon and destroy it. That's pretty nice. Can buy us just enough time to have our opponent pass our turn, and pretty useful. Just a very flexible card. Very easy to just slot into a deck like this and play. Very happy with it. And that is it for the main deck. Alright, going into our extra deck, I am playing 3 copies of Evolzor Dolka. Dolka is great. The big payoff for this deck, it requires 2 level 4 dinosaur type monsters. It's got 2300 attack. And of course, during either player's turn when a monster effect is activated, you can send an Exe material from this card to the grave to negate the effect and destroy the card. So that's pretty sweet. This one monster is 2 monster effect negates either player's turn. Not once per turn effect. It's pretty awesome. If you get multiple Dolkas on the field, it's great. And it's really good when we add extra materials to it with something like XZ Import or, refresh it with materials with Mega Chirilla's effect. So just overall, a great card. Definitely want to see 3 of it because we will definitely summon multiple of it. Sometimes going through all 3 of them. Very nice. In addition, I'm also playing 3 Evolzor Lagia. This is the last of the Evolzors I'm playing. I'm not playing Solda, mostly because it's not too great, so I've never picked one up. Although if I had one, I might play it. But for now, triple Lagia and triple Dolka is definitely enough. Lagia is definitely pretty cool as well. 2400 attack. During either player's turn, it's just Solemn Judgment when a monster would be summoned or a spell or trap effect is activated. You can detach 2 materials from this card to negate the card and destroy it. So, it doesn't have the 2 monster negates like Dolka, but has a little more flexibility. Certain matchups, it'll be pretty handy. Good card to have. Again, we'll definitely go through, and having the option to go through a ton of these is nice. For the rest of the deck, we're playing other decent level 4 XZ stuff. I'm playing one copy of Abyss Dweller, which is nice because we can detach a material so that monster effects in the graveyard don't activate this turn. This will really hose certain matchups, which is good to have. Next, I'm playing a copy of Tornado Dragon. Tornado Dragon is nice because it's 2 level 4s, once per turn, quick effect during either player's, which means during either player's turn, you can detach a material from this card to target a spell or trap card on the field and destroy it. Pretty nice, very useful for matchups that are spell and trap card heavy, and I want to get rid of those. I am playing one copy of Baguska, the Terribly Tired Tapir. This card's pretty nice because 2 level 4 monsters. I can special summon this guy in defense mode, and then he puts all monsters in defense mode, and defense position monsters can't activate their effect. That can be used to buy us a lot of time. Next, I'm playing one copy of Divine Arsenal AA Zeus. Pretty good option to have here. Once per turn, if an XZ monster battles this turn, you can basically throw this guy on top of it. And then during either player's turn, you can detach 2 materials from this card to send all other cards on the field to the graveyard. Just a good option to have. This works really nice if you've spent your Lagia and then you XZ import a monster onto Lagia and attack with Lagia, and you can throw Zeus on it because between Lagia and what it's got attached, Zeus will have 2 materials to use its effect at least once. So a good option to have, of course. Just nice to have overall. Some other more fringe cases that I have in here. One copy of Castel, the Sky Blaster Musketeer. Nice, we detach 2 materials to shuffle any face-up card on the field into the deck. That can definitely come in handy. Steel Swarm Roach, I still find playing against some matchups where this card comes in handy. It just had 2 level 4 monsters, and during the player's turn when a level 5 or higher monster would be special summoned, you can detach a monster to basically negate the special summon and destroy it. So good option to have in certain matchups. One Evil Swarm Exiton Knight, which is pretty cool. 2 level 4 monsters, once per turn during your main phase or your opponent's battle phase. You can, if your opponent has more total cards in their hand and on the field than you do, then you can detach an XZ material monster and, of course, destroy all other cards on the field. So that's just a nice option. Zeus we can kind of use on our turn. Definitely comes in handy if our opponent's generated a lot of card advantage. So, good case to have. One Gaga Cowboy for the classic situation where I'm 800 life points off, and afterwards I can overlay into a Cowboy and do 800 damage. Certainly still happens, so I like having the card. And last, I'm playing one Heartland Draco. This is a rank 4 monster that I really like in a lot of decks because sometimes you've done enough damage, your opponent only has just a little left, and having this monster here where we can just detach a material, target it, and it can attack directly, ignoring an opponent's board and just finishing the game, is a nice option to have. Still find this card some use, but anyway, you can swap out these level 4 XZs for anything that fits your purpose. Probably looking to fit Utopia Double in here because that's a good way to end a game on a follow-up turn. Definitely things like that. Pretty cool. That's it for the extra deck. Alright, so with that said, that is it for my Evoltile, Evolzar deck profile. It's just a fun another way to use Dolka and Lagia, and I always love playing those cards. I've played them in several different ways. They're good in trap monsters, Dino Rabbit stuff. So having the dedicated Evolzor deck is pretty cool, and it's a fun deck right now. It'll definitely be getting a lot of improvements coming down the line, and we'll see how much better it can be. Very excited. It will definitely step up its game a lot, and I'm looking forward to that. So thanks for checking out this profile. Remember, if you want to see a different kind of Evoltile deck profile, my Master Duel deck profile is also up here for this deck. And appreciate you checking out the YouTube video. Love to know what you do with the Evolzors or the Evoltile monsters. And I will see you in the next one. Peace.